All right, Rob Brown here with you on this
Dude,
Friday
the size of that
morning.
chicken.
It's cold. It's cold this morning. It's
Got my
45.
pea coat on.
Yeah, up in
My,
Memphis. Yeah.
it's
I mean,
cold. My internet cable lines are breaking.
well, that's right. And we got to save the web. Save the web. Save the whales. No, save the web. Whales are
Save the
big enough to
web.
take care of themselves. Man.
Oh, man.
Look, Rob Brown, Brendan Martin, got Frank Duffy, Doug Dean, Dan Williams, former Tennessee Volunteer, first-round NFL draft pick of the Arizona Cardinals. He's going to weigh in for the first 15 minutes about the Tennessee-Alabama game going on this weekend. I was texting with Roman Harper this morning. SEC Nation, they will be in Knoxville for that game. We also have Ronnie Sanders, Auburn Undercover, checks in with us. Pal, how you doing, pal?
How we doing, pal?
And then Ken Capps checks in about 8:45, talking Texas and Georgia. Big one down in Austin at DKR. And we will also hear from Charles Hall at the top of the hour. Hewlett and Dunn, Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. And so let's get started. Dan, let's get started right now with you. Won't keep you but about 12, 15 minutes. I know you've got class. Dan is a classic case of the student athlete, folks. Graduated from Tennessee, first-round NFL draft pick, played for the Cardinals and the Raiders. We went to East High School in Memphis. And Dan, you've heard me tell this, but, guys, I used to watch him and his teammates, Alfred Rawls, different people, Malcolm Rawls. They would be out there pulling tractor tires and doing all this stuff that made them tougher and better. What they did at East High School was awesome. He's now started a foundation to help young people with reading. A lot of great stuff. And getting his MBA now at the University of Memphis. Really proud. Dan, while we got you, before you got to go back to class, let's talk about that Tennessee-Alabama game from your perspective as a player, how intense it is, what it's like, because you had some success against the Tide when you were there. And I know Neyland Stadium, 105,000 tomorrow. When that giant T starts and the Pride of the Southland band plays and Smokey runs out, you wish you were running through the tunnel, don't you?
Oh man, definitely, man. That's probably the biggest thing. I miss about. I mean, by all the levels I played on. I mean, just that tradition to run through the tee is like the adrenaline that you get. That feeling that you're about to. You know, I mean, just playing in Neyland. That's why I committed there. That's why I wanted to go there. And I mean, just like with the ball Navy and everything, like it's cool. But I definitely like to throw out there that ball walk was one of the biggest things that I loved. But since I've been there, they definitely cut the walk down a little shorter. But they get a bus ride. But other than that, man, I mean, what the University of Tennessee has done. And man, it was a great experience. Playing there with Uncoach Farmer, even playing there 1 year under Coach Kiffin, it definitely helped me out a lot. Met some great guys. I mean, the older guys come back. I guess I say the ball legends come back all the time, and
Yep.
it's just especially when we're humming and having a great season. There's just a great atmosphere.
Well, it is. Frank Duffy, Mr. LSU Tigers, on here with us right now, and Doug Dean should be on in just a minute from down in Birmingham. Frank, you look like you're in New Orleans. Or are you north of Atlanta?
No, back up here in Big Canoe today.
All right. Jump in here with Dan Williams. I got him a few minutes because I love to get inside the mind of a player going into a rivalry and what you've done since you got out.
Well, I'm just going to ask Dan, the Alabama-Tennessee rivalry, in my opinion, as an SEC fan, is one of the best that's in the conference. That third Saturday in October is must watch.
We're good. Yeah, go ahead.
To that.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. Don't worry about it. You're good. I know Frank was just asking you about that third Saturday in October, how big that game is. Oops. He'll come back. All right. Yeah,
well, I love that rivalry, Rob. I love when Alabama and Tennessee get together that third Saturday in October. Yeah. I love the cigar tradition. But it is, in my opinion, it's one of the top 5 rivalries in the SEC. Always has been.
Yeah, and talk about it, Dan. Playing in that rivalry, how much fun was it?
I mean, it was fun. You know, like I mean, we was part of the win. That '06 win was the last one before.
That
You
was
know,
crazy.
we beat them 2 years ago. I sometimes say we didn't get our cigars for that game. That's the reason why it's been a reason.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing about it, I mean, especially when I was getting recruited, like Alabama. The history of Tennessee was like, Jim Nigland came in to beat Vanderbilt, and then, and then it's like, Vanderbilt was a rivalry. I say so. My heart was like, right now, but it really turned to, Alabama, because I know some people say Florida. I mean, because of Coach Spurrier and everything, but really it's just that that third Saturday in October, make a lot of things right, and but it's just like it's I don't know. It's just like from like you just meet an Alabama fan. It just irritates you, man. It's like I had teammates from Alabama, and even for them, they've enjoyed a lot of success over the last few years, but it's still hey, this is Tennessee week. Like hey, they play Auburn. They're probably like number two, but at the same time, I still think that guys, they just don't like each other. Their red
I,
team, comes around. It's
yeah.
a real issue. Yes.
And Dan, I got to tell you, I have an observation about this game, and I've seen it every time on TV. It is the rivalry in the SEC where the opposing team's visiting fans never get out of that little controlled area because the home fans ain't no way in hell they're selling those tickets. I see it in Tuscaloosa and I see it in Knoxville. It is one of the biggest defending this house rivalry in the SEC. At least that's my opinion. Can you speak? Can you speak to that?
Oh no, I agree with you 100%. Especially it's like even when we had it down, like '05, '08, that was a tough season for us. But then '09, like when we came to Mount Cody block. But
Yeah.
when you
Oh
go to
God,
those when you go to those stadiums, it's really like when you're in Tuscaloosa, all you're gonna see is red and white, and then like the little just a little allotment we were allowed for our fans. And even back here is like we know exactly where the Alabama fans will be, because we don't want them having any type of advantage at our home field. So
Well, Dan, I can tell you, this purple doesn't go well with orange, but we
yeah,
pulling for y'all every third October. That's all I'm gonna
I
tell you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Doug, jump in here, cowboy. I love that hat, by the way.
Does Georgia play tomorrow?
Yeah, they're gonna be playing down.
That's all we're hearing about. That's all we're hearing about.
Is it going to be this or this? I got Georgia winning that one, so I better change hats. Now we're getting there. Anyway, hey Dan, I appreciate your take, brother. I just think this midpoint of the season, boy, call this one Pretenders and Contenders Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And if Georgia or whichever team loses that monster game, I think it's a night game tomorrow, is okay. Georgia not as much. Georgia's on life support. They cannot go to Oxford and drop one. Texas is actually not in terrible shape at all, and that's why I said in the summer there will not be a single team that loses less than 2 regular season. Now Texas has my pick to win it all. Texas has me rethinking that the way they look, but I think Georgia is going to go in there, and everybody's kind of overlooking Georgia, which sounds weird to even say.
Yeah,
with what Kirby's done lately, but they're still loaded with 4 and 5 stars. And I think Texas, sometimes these teams, the margins are so thin, and they might be feeling just a little too good about themselves at Austin. I'm talking about minutely so. And as Frank saw with LSU and Ole Miss, as we all saw, what a hell of a game we were treated to there. That it only takes a thin margin of whether it's motivation, overconfidence, underconfidence. So I like Georgia to show why they have been the class of the SEC, along with Alabama, obviously the last 8 or 10 years.
I mean,
Can't hear you, Rob.
Whoops, had the mute. Sorry. You being a defensive lineman, you're 6'3", you played at what, about 310, 315?
305, 310, yeah.
Okay. And, you're a big guy, you and Malcolm both. Man, you look at defensive linemen today, people try to use a outside linebacker at 215 as an edge rusher, like Harold Perkins or whatever. When you got to the NFL, how ready were you for what you saw having played 5 years? And I respect the hell out of that. You redshirted, you stayed at the same school for 5 years. But guys, I'll tell you, you should see the reaction of the Tennessee people at the Touchdown Club. People love this guy and Malcolm because they stuck it out and they're networked in. And your foundation, let people know about what you're doing because I respect the hell out of what you're doing. I don't care who you played for. And I do. My wife is a Vol for life, by the way, so she loves the Vol.
Definitely. Well, I mean, start with your question was like, I mean, I will say, it's not always, it wasn't always easy, being there for 5 years, especially, coming from being a, high school star, and then you get to the college, and it's like, oh, you have, another 10 people that's on the same level or similar skill level as me. So now it's like, and then you already had guys that have been there. So it's like the development is different. It's different levels. And I mean, at the same time, I would have loved to go in and play right away. And I just trying to help the young guys a little bit. But I do think the purpose of the like with the transfer portal, it was more so for like, for a guy who felt like, hey, if I go here, I could play. And then, it's like the NIL, everything just kind of just took over and, it's a whole different, ball game, I think, what they first imagined. But, just really getting that to it, everybody say, times change. But I do feel like there has to be some type of commitment to a team because like if I go to a different school every year, where can I really call home once you're done? Who's my college team? Now I do, I mean, we had guys who came, they graduated, they went to other places to play, but then they still come back to Tennessee all the time. Like, they graduated, like, hey, you got your degree, you still a ball for life, but we understand, you wanted to do something for your playing career. But it's like now it's like, oh, what do these guys go? Okay, I went to Auburn for 2 years, I went to Tennessee for 1, and then I ended up going to Georgia at the end of the day, or it's like how do you say, hey, I'm this is home for me. So I do sometimes think, that should be kind of explained a little bit more. But on the other side of the coin, I do understand what coaches have to go through. Coaches are like, hey, I got to save my job. Hey, come here and you'll play now. So, I mean, I do understand. I do understand like everybody's point of view of it. But I do prefer a guy who can stay. I mean, you can look at James Pierce. There's a guy who came. He was ranked high on like one recruiting service, and everybody else kind of have him like on one, like 2 or 3 star on the other ones. But the one recruiting service that saw him in person, they're like, hey, this guy's gonna be a star. But there's the way he developed. Coach Gardner, the way he has the D line down there now is like he's doing a great job, and it's just it's fun to see. And I do understand too is like I will say the players who solidify themselves and show they can play right away. I'm pretty sure a school in Tennessee, Georgia, or LSU's Auburn too, their position, they're definitely not gonna make sure that guy doesn't transfer.
You guys are
So
popular. You guys are popular.
those guys are
You
popular.
need
So
you need defensive line players.
like
Hey,
definitely.
go ahead. Finish, Dan. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, but other things too, like now, like I said, I definitely, enjoy my time playing the SEC. I do feel like they did prepare me for the NFL because, my first preseason game, well, okay, it's a little bit faster, but it's really like you got to be smarter. But I mean, like, just skill wise, I was there, but it was like, with the guys in the NFL had you like, okay, oh, this guy takes the wrong step. It's like that's kind of how you involve your I just had to evolve my way I watch film. It's like, oh, it was like habits I didn't even know. But the reason why, like, if I took a false step all the time, like that's what the guy, even though he might have been weaker than me, but the center, he would like cut me off because he knew that was his chance to get me. Because not, I was gonna knock him back.
And footwork is the differentiator in the
Yes.
NFL on the line. It is the differentiator.
Yes, sir. And that's that was one of the biggest things. Like, oh, okay, now I had to. Oh, well, then you can't false step now because this is what he's gonna do. So it's like I had to. I think the process of me, like the SC had me definitely really physically, and especially when we had Monty Kiffin in, that was a big, thing, like a big,
Brilliant.
I guess, Man, I would say that was the gift from God that I never, imagined, because the way he opened my eyes, the way he had me start watching film, Coach Ogeron, like I love him to death, like I still talk to him today. But like, those guys really helped me bring my game to the next level, because I already had the physical attributes, but like, the mentality and the mentality I
Yeah.
needed to have was definitely expanded, by those guys when they came and took over the defense.
Did
So
you work with Chuck Smith any? Because I know he's fabulous on the defensive line. I
like
mean,
Chuck,
yeah.
no. I didn't roll with Chuck. Chuck came after I left, so
Okay.
he was there with the Dooley guys. The Dooley days, and
Okay.
also Chuck, he did work with a lot of guys, before the NFL. But I didn't want going down to Florida
Got
with
it.
Tony Vellani. So it was
Yeah.
Well, he does a great job with those guys on the defensive line for Tennessee. He's
oh
he's
no,
he's been in and out, and I know Chuck down here in Atlanta from the radio days where we
yeah.
do a lot of advertising. But he is definitely a DT whisperer.
Oh yeah, no, he's a great, he's a great teacher. Like,
Yeah.
and then of course, he's also a former ball, so I always,
Right.
being a fan of Chuck Smith. Then also too, like my buddy Vonnie Holiday, he's down there in Atlanta. He does a lot of training as well, but he was a guy I met in Arizona that kind of took me on his wing when I got
Yeah.
there, and taught me a lot of things. So, overall, I just been very fortunate, being in the position I am. I moved back to here to Memphis, yeah, because like what Rob was talking about with my foundation is, eventually, what my plan is, I'm starting here in Memphis first, we are helping kids with literacy. Cross, and then eventually I want to go across the state, because I played at the University of Tennessee and Knoxville and have different relationships in Chattanooga and Nashville and everything. It's just more so because the city, like the state of Tennessee right now, and the kids, 70% of the kids, 76% of the kids are not on reading level, and
Wow.
the thing is, like here in Memphis, is like it's higher. So what I'm
Yeah.
trying to do is come here, express the importance of education. That's what's has gotten, you want to be successful in anything. You need to know how to read. If you're gonna sign a contract as an athlete,
Yeah.
or you finna sign your
Sure.
first professional contract as just an employee of a company, like you need to know what you're getting yourself into. And that's what I'm trying to express, because like a lot of time, kids want to be entertainers, everything, singers to rappers or whatever. I'm like, hey, you need to understand like how much you're gonna get paid, or what they're gonna give you, what's your cut, because it's like at the end of the day, you can have a
Yeah.
top song and 80% of it is going to the producer. You didn't even know it because you
Yeah.
signed it away. So
Yeah.
that's what we've been doing. What we also trying to do. My foundation is called the Playbook for Success, and if people want to look it up, it's very easy. The website is theplaybook.org. And we're actually we have a little fundraiser coming up. It's like a watch party where I got some of my buddies coming in, and they're going get to you talk to a Jarrell Poe or like an Eric Berry to come and
Wow.
just watch the game, and
That's
you just
cool.
talk. Yeah, you just talk, and you can be like, hey, what kind of like questions you have when you're watching it, but you can talk to former guys
Yeah.
who play the game, and to see what pick their brain a bit. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to build a list up. I got a flyer, so I can send it to Rob later. But
Yeah.
yeah, but we
Look at that.
but we what we're trying to do is build libraries for kids. These kids are on tablets and phones a lot, and we're just really trying to get them back to reading, because if you
Yeah.
I'm on my phone now, but I did read when I was little, and just developed my mind, and in a minute, and honestly, there's research said like a person get at least to a sixth grade level, they should be fine. Like this like bare minimum. But so
Yeah.
we're trying to, but we definitely want to take them beyond that, and just still help the youth, develop. And so we're building libraries at home. We donate books to them. We buy books, give it to
Yeah.
them. We incentivize the kids, just for doing well, overall in school. So it's like, hey, if hey, I made all A's, and I read 10 books, over 3 months. Hey, we give them gift cards and stuff to try
Yeah.
to keep encouraging them to do well, because now, this will actually help you, like if you really get it, and when you get older, these rewards that you're earning now, could, turn to a big salary, or turn to, you starting your business, and, doing well for yourself.
Yeah. Doug, jump in here. I know you got some questions.
Yeah,
Great stuff.
Dan.
Mhm.
If you, I'm preaching to the choir because you've been in the trenches. You know exactly what I mean. But I think I know it's well documented. If you take, let's say, the last 20 years in the Southeastern Conference, and ran a correlation of the teams that go on to win the national championship. What are the common traits? And they have to have a total roster, always have to have a capable quarterback. But I think 100% of the time you would find a very elite defensive front, at least one or two guys that are nearly unblockable that force you to double them. And so my question to you is, you were coached by, and you mentioned it earlier, so I'll rephrase what I was going to ask you, the great, if not crazy, Ed Orgeron, Ed O, and you had Monty Kiffin there, who's a Mensa, rest his soul. It was very sad to lose one of the greats. And then head coach Lane Kiffin, he probably didn't ever come over on the defensive side of the ball much, but give us, if you remember one, a story about what that would help our listeners understand, what does Ed Orgeron do to get the absolute best out of a defensive lineman?
Oh, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share a personal story that I tell everybody. When he first came to Tennessee, I mean, to me, I had because Coach O, he actually almost had me to commit to Ole Miss when after he took over Coach Cut, because I actually, Ole Miss was my favorite school, and then it was like, Tennessee was second because Coach Cutcliffe used to always come and visit me in high school. Like, man, I'm going to Ole Miss, but I had a great D-line coach in Dan Brooks before him, and he went on.
Yeah.
He produced a lot of NFL tackles. I was like,
Uh-huh.
who are you gonna bring in after that? And then they brought in Coach O. And then it was like, man, it was funny. So when I was meeting with Coach O, we had at the time we still had a parking lot in the back of the complex, and we walked to the practice field, and Coach O was like, all right, Danny, let me explain to you, Coach O, real quick. I'm like, all right, cool. We got to the entrance of before we went on practice field. Like, got my backpack, sweats. He was like, this is Coach O, very simple. So we got there before we got to the gate. He was like, Dan, right here, Coach O is your coach. I'm your friend. I'm your mentor. Call me anything. Coach O is here for Danny. I'm like, all right, cool. So he said, now, step into my office. And then it's the grass, so we hit the practice field. And his face had changed. Look at me. He was like, I own your fucking ass. That's what he told me. And then he pointed back at the concrete. We stepped back on the concrete in the parking lot. He said, do you understand? I said, Coach, there's nothing else. There's nothing else. And I wouldn't trade it for word. And I understood that because when it came to football, like the way Coach O's mind just worked, and like X's and O's, like blocks, D tackles, like it was just, I was like, man, this dude is like a football encyclopedia. Like, I need to be around him as much as I can. And the way Coach, is just, he had a guy. I mean, I see why he was a top recruiter. I think he can read
it was
people.
great.
Yeah, and the way he get, he can get things out of guys. And I mean, I played with like Frosty Rucker at USC, and everybody remember Coach O. Like, the way Coach O was. There's, when it came to football, like, he was serious. Like, there's nothing to play with. And I do understand, like, he was a guy that would push you. Like, he's not going to let you be mediocre. And then it was really like, they give you a whole saying, like, hey, as long as coach is talking to you, that's a good thing. But when he stopped talking to you, it's pretty much it's time for you to go. And he was one of those coaches. I mean, but I think for me, it's like, I was used to that, like, and then especially going from a Dan Brooks, I think some of my teammates just really, cause Coach had a different coaching style. But, if you want to be ready for the NFL, I think that coaching change, which helped me get drafted, was because, these coaches switch. Like, you ain't gonna have the same coach,
Right.
doing this. So can you just take coaching regardless? And I think that's what helped me. But like I said, man, I still talk to Coach O this day, and he's down in Miami, so
He's having fun, I bet.
Yeah, he's living a good life. Say 17 million goes a long way in South Beach.
Oh yeah. And I mean, but I definitely know he loves football. He loves his boys now. So, he's, Coach O has always been, good influence on me. And, even I call him now, he'll pick up the phone for me, and, we could chop it up. So,
Hey,
I
Dan,
always have a lot of love and respect for Coach O.
Dan, what he was doing when you once you had signed on the dotted line, Coach Dye, the great legendary Auburn coach back in the day, you were in diapers, I guess, back then. But
Yeah.
Coach Dye would say, once I I tell these prima donnas how great they are, the first month or two they come here, it's all about de-recruiting them, bringing them back down to earth, because the whole world's told you how great you are, and you are. But boy, you step up from high school to the SEC, it takes a minute or two, doesn't it?
I mean, it definitely does. I mean, I remember my first practice. We had a running back, Monterio Hardesty. You know, like here in
Oh
Memphis, he's a
God.
good running
Oh
back.
man,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like Monterio came through that hole the first time. I was like, "What is this?" They're like, I'm like, "You like a junior?" I'm
What was
like,
that? What was
"Yeah, yeah."
that?
Like, what is that? And it's like, no, it's like, "Oh no, he was in my class." I'm like, "Hold on." Like, I mean, he was just very, genetically gifted. He was great, running back. Then we also had LaMarcus Coker, and like, the speed that
God, yeah.
he brought, from Nashville. So it was like, whoa, like, okay, this is a recruiting thing for real.
Yeah.
Like, because we had guys in Memphis that was fast, but they probably wasn't as strong. So it was just
And,
like,
and
whoa,
and
yeah,
there was college speed, and then there was SEC
speed,
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 Oh,
yes,
which is a different deal.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I agree because I mean, like Rob was talking about earlier, like putting now they have a like a 215 guy pound guy rushing, but I will say that if you could, that's the reason why we found a guy who's 240, 250 that could do that. That's why he's more of a premium
Correct.
because, you want him in there for the run more
Stuff in the
as
run.
well, stuff to run. And, and some of these guys, even 260, almost 270, they can run 4.5s now and, be in coverage and everything because, they want to be stout up front. So,
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, I was gonna say when I was playing, and you gonna play Alabama, where you knew Nick Saban was about to get the ball to Trent Richardson, Mark Ingram, and then whoever else 5-star he had on the bench. It's
Correct.
like that wasn't gonna really work. But the game has really went to this, these spread offenses. So it makes sense because you get a guy who can rush, but then also, he's faster to get certain spots and areas and stuff. Help you with your defense.
hey Dan, we're going to we're going to hire you. Unfortunately, there's no compensation, but
Yeah.
other than inner gratification. But we're going to hire you to be defensive coordinator for a day, for Tennessee, and tell us your defense. You've been at every level, and had a
Mhm.
great career. Tell us your basic defensive game plan, trying to slow down Milroe and Ryan Williams. They've got great backs. How do you load the box, or you just try to disguise things? How are you going to try to slow down this Alabama offensive attack?
I mean, my biggest thing was like I'll just try to do a like disguise kind of mixture, mix up the zone and man, and let and see what Miro does throwing the ball. Try to. I mean, I think the guy we got the transfer from Oregon State. He's been playing well for us. So I mean, Ryan Williams is a great player already. But it's just I
Did we
think
mention he's 17?
yeah, 17, yeah. So
Yeah.
I do think, but my thing is like my biggest. If I was going to this game plan, what I feel like Vanderbilt did was limit Miro's running. Like when
Yeah.
Miro gets
Got to do
running,
it.
and it's not even just a running back, but if you don't get Miro to run and you make him throw, I mean, you have a chance because
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest too, is like when Miro, even if he hits you with the deep ball, that doesn't take as much time up. Like you can come back, but when he runs
Yeah.
those long things and the clock's still running because he misses a pass, that's the end of it. Now you got time to work your offense and everything. But to me, it's like when if you let him his arm and his legs beat you, it's gonna be a long day for him. But
And when you're rushing him, you better keep containment because
yes,
if
Yeah.
you don't, he gets outside. That's
yes,
15 to 20 yards. You're
Yeah.
done.
yeah, every
You're done.
time.
Am I right, Dan, that sometimes that means sacks may be less important? Why? Because if you, to contain
Contain.
Milroe's run, you got to protect the edge, and he can go up the middle if you leave a lane there, but you
Yeah.
want to squeeze that pocket down, don't you? Which
Yes,
may
yeah.
not mean getting a sack.
So yes, we're gonna definitely need some unselfish guys, and that's why I tell my defense like it was times I'm pretty sure like when like a Lamar Jackson even in the NFL
Yeah.
like when guys getting paid it's like hey bro I know you want to the sacks will come but like look I was one of the guys out in mind like hey I'm gonna just push the pocket y'all eat but he not running in the middle and because and honestly if he does that if your ends get the rush I would say try to keep him inside like he's really big on the ends not to let him outside because now he could either run or this one you got like a Ryan Williams coming back for the ball and do his thing. So it's just like we can keep him in the pocket and then just push it and like just close it on them instead of trying to hurry up and beat everybody and get the sack. I think it definitely increases our chances of winning. And like I said, it's just I'll just mix it up, try to mix up coverages on them. But the biggest thing is really just not letting him get rolling with those,
Yeah.
with them legs. Yeah.
And Dan, look, I know you got to get into class. You're getting your MBA at the University of Memphis. The president over there, Dr. Hardgrave, was the dean of the College of Business at Auburn. Go
Okay,
introduce
cool.
Go introduce yourself to him. He's a great man. He took over April of 2022. He was the first person in his family to finish past 10th grade. They all went and worked in factories, and He has a PhD in information systems. He will love talking to you. He walks through campus in a suit so he can talk to the students. That's a novelty among prep. But look, don't be a stranger and come back to us. I'm so proud of you because, from Binghamton, East High School, the Mustangs, you got so much damn pride. Leave us with one thing, how to join and support your foundation, and we'll let you go and have a great weekend. And hopefully you're a happy man tomorrow night.
Oh yeah, I agree. But if guys want to support and just look up my foundation. Like I said, it's www.theplaybook.org, and you can see all the good things that we have going on, and just dealing with the kids, being with the kids, it's been a great, I say a great honor because it's like it brings back a lot of memories and just helping them and seeing them improve. Is always. It's always a good thing to see, and I think it's good for the future. For just, I guess we could be like might even be like a life changing point in someone's life, just for being here and spending their time with them.
Literacy. Well, you do it. Audrey's already said she's going to help you, so we're gonna get you help. But have a great one, man. Thank you so much. We kept you long, but you're really good.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan.
Hey, Dan.
Man. Hey.
What a stud. If I win the Powerball, Rob, I wonder if he's available as a personal protector.
Hey, I'm telling you, and
big,
Ronnie
big
Sanders.
Figures.
Yeah, and I met him at the Touchdown Club, guys, and Ronnie Sanders, Auburn undercover, 16 years doing it. And him and Malcolm Rawls both played at Tennessee 05 to 09 and played at East High School. I used to watch them work out all the time and just their career, and they're just such good people, and people just are a magnetic attraction to them because they're trying to give back. And Ronnie Sanders, you live down in Hoover, in the Birmingham. I don't call it the Metroplex because we saved that for Dallas. But Doug Dean, AU Dose in Birmingham, Frank Duffy, Mr. LSU Tiger, north of Atlanta, Brendan Martin, our executive producer in Ocala, Florida. So let's talk some SEC football, Ronnie. Auburn travels to Columbia, and as an old lady in Birmingham used to say, "Pal, make me holler." Is Auburn going to make Missouri holler tomorrow?
I don't think that. At some point, Auburn's going to put together a game and play well enough to win. And I don't think Missouri's 5-1, but they haven't looked great getting there. So, I picked Auburn. I expect it at some point. Like I said before, I think at some point they'll play well enough to win a game they're not supposed to. But we'll see.
The metrics definitely suggest that, and it's puzzling to me that when you compare a 2-4 team going on the road to Grant, I think the 11 a.m. kick maybe helps the visitor on occasion. Usually, just the better team wins, but it's puzzling to me that didn't come out Mizzou -10 if you're into wagering or just find it fascinating. But I think somebody that's affecting where the money's going on that game see that, gosh, the production is there for Auburn. If they could make the right moves, especially offensively, to just mitigate some of these self-imploding mistakes, especially by Peyton Thorne. Will you get an open date to do that? I guess now that the line's dropped to about 3.5 or 4, somebody in Vegas, a lot of money, believes that we haven't seen the real Auburn yet. And meanwhile, Mizzou, how do you feel super confident if you get waxed 41-10, albeit in College Station?
Well, I agree with you, and I've talked to some coaches up there at Missouri. They just, like I said before, they feel, they feel they're fortunate to have one loss. They don't feel like they played that well. And if you look at Auburn, Auburn should be sitting here with one loss to Georgia. You take away the turnovers, take away half the turnovers, and you're still sitting at 5-1. So I don't think Auburn's as bad as they've looked. I really don't at times, and certainly not as bad as the record. That's my opinion.
Ronnie, when you look at Auburn's offensive line, how much better is it than it has been the last 4 or 5 years?
Well,
or is it static?
I think that probably a little bit better. Gus toward the end of the Malzahn area, it certainly fell off. Harsin, I'm not sure what can you say?
I don't like baked potatoes as much as I used to. I'll say
we can say hallelujah.
Man.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it's pretty amazing that, and we've talked about this before, Rob. It's pretty amazing that two programs like Auburn and Florida are quickly headed toward their fourth consecutive losing seasons at the same time.
Yeah. And you coached at LSU with Coach Saban. You coached at Florida, and you're at Auburn with Auburn undercover. That's about as likely to happen at the same time as a foot of snow on the Gulf Coast of Alabama. It's really rare.
Yeah, and I'm really not sure how you're sitting in Gainesville, Florida, and Auburn, Alabama, and end up. I mean, can you not at least get to 7 once in a while? I mean, four consecutive losing seasons at
crazy
at Florida. I'm not even sure how that happens. I'm really not. Having been there, I mean, we came in late and still signed a top 10 class, signed another top 5 class, and signed a number 1 class in 3 years. So,
well, they were beating us in Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, and then somebody decided to throw a shoe, and it's been all downhill since.
That's right.
That's a good point.
It's all downhill since.
Yeah. Ronnie, like Doug and I, and Frank, we love this round table. I want to get your thoughts on what Hugh Freeze, this is just year 2. Your take on what this staff, or what about this staff? How do you rank this group? Offense, defense, special teams? Because, boy, Alex McPherson, what's going on with him? I mean, well, Auburn misses him more than Towns Magoo's good, but he missed a couple of apparently easy field goals against Oklahoma. If it can go wrong, it seems like it has so far, but there's always the next game.
Well, from McPherson has an intestinal issue. He's been very, very sick. He's actually engaged to my first cousin's daughter. So he's from North Alabama, where I am too. We went to the same high school and all that stuff, but he's been very sick. So hopefully, and he's on the mend. I think he's going to be fine over some time. But you asked about the coaching staff. I think that it's hard to grade a staff. It really kind of depends on the head coach. I think that it's a better staff for Hugh Freeze. I think he's more comfortable. I think having been at Auburn for in his second year now, he's certainly more comfortable with the way things are. You look at the staff last year versus the staff this year. I think that Ron Roberts versus DJ Durkin and Derek Nix versus Philip Montgomery. I think there's just a comfort factor there, and I think will it show up on the field? I think it will eventually, but certainly hadn't yet.
Yeah.
Can you
Ronnie,
speak? Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead, Frank.
No, you go, Doug. You go.
I'm going to step back a little bit from X's and O's and competition and teams this year and ask I guess it's a marketplace, college football marketplace question. And you're well qualified to have an opinion on this, Ronnie. What is different about the business model of how fans access and enjoy content and information now? And then if you want to have a bonus question, are we seeing, because I'm hearing a lot of disturbing things that affect player motivation, player effort. Are we seeing, because of NIL, the negative influence of agents saying, look, you're going to make the NFL dial it back in terms of vicious hits, avoid injury? I'm hearing rumors of that. I choose to believe that teams that are still contending, for God's sake, at least, that's never on a player's mind. But just say the last 3 to 5 years, what is really different on the marketplace of college football?
Well, I think college football is kind of like the news or anything else. People are going to watch what they want to watch. If you're liberal, then you're probably going to watch MSNBC. If you're conservative, you're probably going to watch Fox. And, you kind of pick and choose what you want. I think athletics is sports, and football is no different. So there are plenty of avenues to do that. Places like Auburn Undercover. I mean, places like this show. Used to there were 3 channels, and I remember when Fox came along. It used to be ABC, CBS, NBC, and that was that was it. And then Fox came along, and we had to turn the antenna to be able to get it. And now it's you can watch whatever you want to watch whenever you want to watch it. So
some of us in the 70s, you just hope and dream, because you're not Alabama, and it's on every Saturday, that just once a year maybe Keith Jackson would call your game, right, Frank?
Absolutely. Well, I have a question. Can you speak to what Hugh Freeze is doing on the recruiting trail? I just pulled up Rivals because I wanted to see the latest of the team rankings. There's Texas at 5, Georgia at 6, Oklahoma at 7, stalwarts in the SEC, and there's Auburn sitting at 4 and LSU at 3. We're doing something right, both our programs. Could you speak to what is happening to Auburn right now to basically clean up the mess that Harsin left you guys in the recruiting rooms to put it together a class like this for Hugh Freeze? Because good things are on the horizon. Auburn fans have to just be a little patient. Can you speak to what he's doing and the meteoric rise to Auburn in the recruiting ranks?
Well, I think if you look back, Auburn over the years has certainly recruited at a high level with Gene Chizik and Gus.
It's always top 10. Yeah,
always top 10. It's been, I think Chizik jumped up and had the number one class for 1 year, I believe.
I do remember that.
Historically, Auburn has recruited top 15, top 10 classes. Auburn is in pretty good shape from an NIL standpoint for both basketball and football. That's certainly helped. The SEC and everybody, equal distribution of money and equal exposure and certainly all those things have helped raise everybody's profile, not just Auburn's.
Yeah.
I remember when Mississippi State couldn't buy a game. Of course, they still can't now. But if you, I think I read the other day they'd been to before the last couple of years they've been to like 15 straight bowl games, which is pretty amazing. So it's a completely different world in college football today than it was even 5 years ago.
What do you think Freeze's message is when he goes in and talks to these four-star, five-star recruits? Because you guys are getting people in battles against Georgia and Alabama. It's impressive. What he's done. I mean, as an outsider, I haven't drank the Kool-Aid, but I'm watching it and I'm seeing the progression that he's doing in the recruiting trail, and it's phenomenal what he's been able to do in 2 short years.
Well, especially in state, and I think a lot of things have kind of come together. One being Nick Saban's retirement, and in this state, things typically ebb and flow. When Auburn was good in the '80s, Alabama wasn't. When Tuberville was having a good run, Alabama wasn't. When Nick Saban got to Alabama, things changed pretty quickly, and so. Auburn has a propensity for having really great years and then having really bad years. We're like the schizophrenic or something. We're up and down, up and down. So, but Freeze has really embraced Auburn, and up until the last few weeks, Auburn had really embraced Freeze. But I think he fits. I think that, like you said, people have just got to be patient. Look, you get kids on campus at Auburn, and they typically like it.
Yeah.
It's not, and I know I went to school there, but it's a different kind of place. And when people get on campus, they tend to like it.
The slogan is real. The slogan of family is real in Auburn, in my opinion.
Well, and my wife went to Florida. She's a Gator, and she's still, we'll be walking through an airport in California or wherever, and I get a War Eagle from across the airport. And she's like, "What is it?"
And you might get
Ronnie,
a go to hell Auburn too.
Ronnie, I know I'm just going to keep you just a couple of more minutes. I know you got a busy day ahead of you, and we've got this is the round table, so it's pretty rapid fire Friday. Let people know how they can keep up with you. I'm an Auburn undercover junkie. I love it. I love what y'all do. You put out great content. You're doing live content now, which I love. So your thoughts on just real quick, and then tag out Auburn, Missouri tomorrow, because that's up in Columbia, the 11 a.m. The timeout game is what I call it, having raised a bunch of kids.
The early kick, at least in my experience, is always hard for most teams. I just remember when we were Florida, we kicked off 1 year against Ole Miss. It was early, and we got the hell beat out of us. And then we turned around, and I think it was the next year. We lost to Ole Miss 2 years in a row, and then turned around. And if I remember right, the Mississippi State game where we got beaten by Ellis Johnson and Sylvester Croom, and they were terrible. and we get fired, turn around and lose to Georgia barely the next week, and then end up running the table the rest of the way. End up beating Florida State in Tallahassee for the first time in 20 years, and so you just never know how the season's going.
Well, Ole Miss got Florida a national championship. I know that because that pissed him off enough to go win a natty.
Yeah,
no doubt. Yeah. Well, the cupboard was certainly stacked. I mean, Ron Zook still jokes. He's like, yeah, because he was there with Spurrier. He's like,
sure,
he like, hell, I stocked the cupboard twice and didn't get any rings for either one of them.
Correct. Funny.
God, well, Ronnie, let people know how they can follow you and also on X. I know you put out a lot of really great content.
They can follow us on X at AU Undercover or at Auburn 24/7. Go to auburnundercover.com. We're running a subscription special right now. I think we do a ton of traffic, and we've got it's the largest subscription site out there for Auburn people. So check us out.
I love it, man. Thank you so much.
Work,
Hope you get better.
You do great work.
Talk to you next week.
Good to be with y'all.
All right. Thank you. Let me say something about one of our sponsors, a new one, Landers Ford, Collierville, Tennessee. Join the team this week. They are open Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Service department open 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. They're closed on Sundays, okay? Now, they've got all kinds, cars, trucks, SUVs, like I say, a massive service department located at the corner of Poplar and Houston Levee. Go to the website, LandersFordCollierville.com. Brad Bellamy, the general manager, he'll be coming on here frequently. He's a big college football fan. Memphis and Alabama are his favorite teams. But we'll send you to Brad Bellamy, and then he will direct you to the salesman, what you're looking for. You're going to be hearing a lot about them. They've got their name on 6 sports stadiums just in the Mid-South. Wherever you are watching this show, go to LandersFordCollierville.com. They can deliver vehicles anywhere. They're bigger, they're stronger, and their motto is, if you didn't buy your last vehicle from Landers Ford in Collierville, you probably paid too much. And I want to say something about one of our Club 250s, ClaySmokedTuna.com. Free deliveries all across Memphis today when you order 3 or more dips. They got the smoked chicken, smoked tuna, smoked salmon, smoked buffalo chicken dip. Woo! It's good stuff, man. Ken Caps, I've told all the Georgia
let's get into
people,
some Texas and Georgia, baby.
Yeah, I told all the Georgia people, go to Cisco's, but when you're down there, but not
Go to
Taco
Black's.
Bell,
Don't go to
Cisco.
Cisco.
Go to
Don't go to
Black's.
Cisco.
Go to Black's Barbecue. Love it, love it, love it, love it.
Ken, we're handing the ball off to you. Take it and run.
Dane, don't do that to me. I heard you already picked Georgia. I heard you already picked them.
Yeah. Thank you for calling me on that. It's reverse. We call that reverse mojo. Again,
That's right.
Georgia
I'll tell
understands. I got plenty of Georgia friends, and Georgia fans understand that when it comes to the Georgia Auburn, Georgia or Alabama Auburn, and a few others. It's anything that happens for your arch rival is automatically good. That's probably how most fans think, if we're honest.
Addition by subtraction.
Well, I got 2 G Wiz facts for you to start off.
All right.
And I thought this was 2 really interesting things. Number 1, Georgia has won 50 consecutive games against teams not named Alabama. Okay, think about that.
Yep.
Tomorrow and Sunday, and this has never happened in an SEC town, the population of Austin is going to swell to between 500,000 and 1 million extra people, not only because of the Texas-Georgia game and the 103,000 people that'll be inside, plus the tailgaters outside, but there's a Formula One race going on about 15 miles south in South Austin. It's bringing another 500,000 people to town.
Lord.
Terrible
I don't
planning.
know where everybody's going to sleep. I don't know where everybody's going to sleep tonight, guys.
Hey, I just know one thing: Euro metrosexuals should not run into the wrong Georgia and Texas crowd over the weekend. They better keep their distance.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm
And
glad I'm staying at my mom's house the next
Yeah.
couple days, you know?
They better stay in the People's Republic of Austin side.
That's right.
Ken,
That's
you're
right.
from Austin. You're from Austin. You got a son
Born
named
and bred,
Austin.
baby. Born and
Yeah, yeah.
bred.
So let's talk about this game. Strengths and weaknesses, Georgia versus Texas, and we'll start bouncing it around. And you've got the game notes to back it up. I love those notes. So let's hear about it.
Well, yeah. I really did a lot of good research. And let me give you a little bit of history first. Texas leads the series with Georgia 4-1. The last time they played was the Sugar Bowl 2019. Texas won. And I don't know whether what people remember most, whether Sam Ellinger, the quarterback of Texas, uttering his famous or infamous words, "We're back,"
Oh yeah.
or that's when the Georgia boys thought it would be a good idea to walk Uga over to see Bebo, and Bebo took a swing at him with his horns.
Yeah.
Yep, I remember that. Hey, Bevo sent Mike the Tiger a note and said, "I need some backup at these damn things."
Yeah, really. But the one loss, and I talked to Rob about this yesterday, the one loss that Texas has had to Georgia was in 1984,
Cotton
the
Bowl, wasn't
Cotton
it?
Bowl.
Yeah, Johnny Lamb
Bowl.
Jones, your boy. I think
Yes,
Lamb was
and
in
if
that
Texas
game.
had won that game, Texas would have won the national championship under
Yep.
Fred Akers.
You're exactly right. I
And
remember watching that.
if people still remember that game, I was living in Nashville at the time. I drove to Dallas from Nashville to see that game, and man, that was a heartbreaker.
The cold game.
There's a lot of
Cold.
history between these two schools, and tomorrow, some people are calling it the biggest game played at DKR, Texas Memorial Stadium, in 2006, when Ohio State came to town. Ohio State won that game, but I mean, tomorrow, here's what I see as the difference. Let's get to the game. Right now, the Texas defense is ranked number 1 overall
Yeah.
and number 1 in scoring defense. Now, wait, I have the numbers. So I want to get them right.
That's why me and Doug picked him to win the Natty.
Total defense is 28th, and the scoring defense is 21. So I think it's going to be a tale of the defenses and who's going to play better. And Georgia certainly can come in there and beat Texas. Carson Beck is 18-2 as a starter.
And Doug, he'll hopefully join us back. He's got those gremlins out there on the interweb.
I didn't want to cut him off. We'll wait for Ken. But what I was going to ask Ken, and I'll repeat it if I need to. I think he's right. What's so counterintuitive, or we're not used to saying this, is that based on the body of work at the halfway point of the season, who saw it coming that Georgia's defensive front got you back, Ken? Who saw it coming that Georgia's defensive front would appear at times to be pretty significantly behind how Texas defensive front is playing? Now that can be a fool's gold. Fans and wagerers need to be careful of trying to think that there is linear prediction of what I saw this game. So the same things, it doesn't work that way. But I think the key to the game, Ken, not to derail what you were, the train of thought you were on, but I think if Texas wins, and that's what Ken wants to hear about, is if Texas wins, they have what I consider a vastly superior play caller in Sarkisian compared to Mike Bobo. No offense to Bobo. Mm-hmm. He's had some good moments, but even a lot of Georgia fans have queasy feelings about how Bobo calls the game. Back to you, Ken.
Sark's at the top
Well,
of the
I was
game.
just going to say back to what very good point. And that's, I was talking about how the Texas defense is ranked number 1 overall and number 1 in scoring defense, and Georgia's down in the 20s in both. But, and you're right about the defensive line of Georgia, but they've also had a lot of injuries along that defensive line. So that's the other thing. I still think it's going to boil down to the defenses. Carson Beck, 18-2 as a starter. I talked to him at SEC Media Days in the Metroplex of Dallas. I know Rob did too. Great kid. Have a lot of respect for him. And Ewers has got to play better than he did against Oklahoma. I mean, Ewers had a solid game, but you could tell coming back from 3 weeks off that he had to kind of crank it up a little bit there at the end. So hopefully, I know it's going to be just a crazy game. They're hoping it's going to be the loudest game in Memorial Stadium since 1990 when Texas played Houston and won that game. That was the Shock the Nation tour year. So I just think that Sark is a great play caller. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And of course, last week he didn't pull many tricks out of the bag. He had that little wide receiver pass that worked once and didn't work once. But I think where Texas can also be effective this week is running the ball on that Georgia defense. And it looks like that maybe Trey Wisner is going to take over for Jaden Blue as the number one running back based on his performance against Oklahoma. Now, Sark said this week that he considers both starters.
OU had no answer for your defense. None. They were as impotent as I've ever seen Oklahoma offense look. They had no answer. That's how good Texas's defense is. And we all know you win championships with defense, especially in this conference.
Yep. Well, I agree.
Yeah. And Charles Hall is going to join us in just a minute from Hewlett and Dunn. And speaking of cowboy boots and jeans and hats and stuff, they've got it all out there. Ken, this game, and Frank and Doug, we've all talked about this, that a couple of times a year, y'all would get really loud at DKR Memorial Stadium. Tomorrow, are you already seeing the Georgia fans in there in huge numbers, the red and black?
Yep.
Grown men barking. I love it.
Or like Doug calls them, the leg humpers.
I wouldn't have told
better than the Arkansas fans, sounded like pigs. So I'd rather hear the dogs barking than woo pig suey.
Yeah.
We just killed Rob's Georgia demographic on this show.
Oh, no. Wait. Hey, look, we all mess with each other. Trust
That's
me.
right.
We got a lot
Good,
of
clean
Georgia
fun.
fans. And I'm going to tell you what, it makes it so much fun is we can kid around with each other. I've got Georgia picked to win. And I'm picking them because everybody can't be right at the same time. I think Georgia's got enough linemen coming in healthy. I don't have a favorite in this team. I just think that Georgia's going to win. Now, if Georgia
not so fast, my friend.
Yeah.
Not so fast, my friend.
Yeah.
I'm on burnt orange, and I'm on record.
Well,
yeah,
Georgia,
this game it reminds me a little of Ohio State, Oregon a week ago. It screamed at me to pick Ohio State. And so because this game is screaming at me at the top of its lungs to pick Texas, I'm a contrarian investor. And I don't care who wins. I like Ken a lot, so that's made me like Texas a little better.
Thank you.
But no, I really do, Ken. You're a class act. But I just have a hunch that Georgia, sometimes teams find themselves mid-season. It's not always in evidence in the first few games. And and by the way, Texas, if they lose a close one here, even if it's not close, but if they lose, it'll be close, for God's sake. But Texas is in fine shape.
Sure.
You're going to be in the playoff. You're probably going to be in the top 4, even if you were to drop this one to Georgia.
No, I agree with that. And, I got to give Frank some props real quick because Frank called it all last week. He said Texas would cover. The Texas defense would take care of Hawkins. So, Frank, I got to throw you the props. I was a little bit more cautiously optimistic on that than you were. And, it was 96 degrees in the Cotton Bowl last week. But, Texas fans didn't feel a thing. They ran out of water, for God's sake, halfway through the game. And, I don't know how you do that with 92,000 people in the stands. But Frank, good job on that for calling it all. And so if you're going to stick with Texas, like I say, even though I went to Texas, I look at it completely just by the stats and neutrality and looking at everything. I think it will be an uphill battle for Georgia to win at home at DKR. However, DKR, and they've said this all week. I've been reading several articles in the Austin media that Texas fans need to come out and make DKR more intimidating. Our stadium, where I went to school there 40 years ago now, is not intimidating. You go to these SEC schools and you can't hear yourself think the entire game. That's not how Texas is. And so, Sark has even called on the fans this week to really come out and just be loud as hell the entire game. And if Texas, because even last week at the Cotton Bowl, when Texas got up, the fans cheered when there was a sack or something happened. But other than that, they weren't that loud. And I just think that, Texas fans are going to have to learn this in the SEC, that when either they go, when big games like this happen in Austin, that they're going to have to start acting like SEC fans and just be crazy as hell.
Night game and loud crowds in the SEC go together like bourbon and a big ice cube.
Yeah, and let me say this.
Ken, one thing that it's interesting. The 12-team playoff sort of forces coaches and maybe even fans to think a little differently with the timing of wins and losses. It's fine to say in August, we're going to run the table. Nobody's going to run the table many years unless weird things happen. But it might actually can be advantageous for Texas if they should. I know you don't want to lose tomorrow because it's such a great environment. You always want to win a big game for the brand. But if you drop a close one to Georgia, but you beat them in the SEC championship game, I think I would rather carry that momentum into the playoff.
Well, that's exactly what happened, several years ago when Texas beat Oklahoma at the Cotton Bowl and then lost to them in the Big 12 championship game. So there is something to that. But I think, I heard what you said earlier too about maybe Texas being a little too overconfident. I'm not sure if that's the case. What I've really been impressed with Sark is that he's brought a whole lot of Nick's, and I've said this several times, but especially this week, he's brought a whole lot of Nick Saban to the campus, just as Kirby Smart has brought a whole lot of Nick Saban to Athens. And of course, Nick is going to be sitting outside on game day tomorrow. Scotty Scheffler is going to be the guest picker. And so Nick is going to be sitting outside watching his two boys go, hammer at each other tomorrow night. I think that's kind of cool too. Yeah. But, Sark has really tried to moderate everybody's emotions. And back in the old days, people have also made this argument too. Well, you're playing Georgia. It's going to be a big letdown after playing Oklahoma and beating them so solidly. Well, I looked this up too. From 1937 until Arkansas left for the SEC, Texas played Arkansas right after Oklahoma every single year, either in Fayetteville or in Austin. So, and I know the kids that are going to play tomorrow don't know anything about that. But my point is that I think Sark understands that, and but anything can happen, and it could come down to a late kick. But I don't think that Ewers is going to or Beck is going to run down the sidelines with 10 seconds left and forget the clock is about to run out. Let me happen.
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me bring in Charles Hall, Hewlett and Dunn, see if his camera's working from one of our sponsors. We're going to get back to this because this is great. Charles Hall, there you are. We see you now. Charles, man, I was out there a couple of times this week. Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. Guys, every time you go in the store, they've redone it. You think Costco redoes stuff every night? Elves come in here at night, and Hewlett and Dunn, they've got Barber. Man, they've got Duckhead. They've got Filson. Charles, you own the store. You're better at telling them, but you also really did a number on your website. It looks great, but tell people what's going on out there.
Yeah, well, it's fall, of course, and so we're really ramping up. This is an exciting time of year, both in the all the inventory coming in, and then sales are picking up, and it's my favorite time because you get a lot of this beautiful Filson and Barber and Pendleton and stuff coming in. And we ordered a year ahead basically, so a lot of it you completely forget about, and then you open the box, so it's like Christmas every day. not without stress.
Oh, look at
got a
those.
lot of money coming in the back door, and not as much going out the front yet. So there is that stress that is this going to sell, that sort of thing. That's kind of the name of the game, really. But yeah, as far as our webpage, all of this stuff, as I check it in, I immediately put it on our webpage. So if you go to hewlettdunn.com, you can see all of our new clothing and boots and stuff that come in each day. So.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it is you and Raven and Eli and JM and your wife Laura, everybody there makes the buying experience really special. And guys, it's like going into your favorite anything, and they'll get you what you need. I mean, Audrey, Raven sees something, and Audrey just automatically loves it, and they'll fit you. They also can repair boots out there, Charles. A lot of people have boots. I'll let you go after this, but a lot of people have boots they want to get restored. You have a process that is second to none for restoring boots. Tell them about it.
Yeah, I've got two, well, really three different repairmen. Anything from my local guy that can do your basic stuff, but he can do it very well, up to our custom boot maker in El Paso. So depending on what needs to be done, we can certainly achieve that. So yeah, anything you need to have repaired, just bring it in.
Yeah, and you're open 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday. After Thanksgiving, you're open Sundays, 1 to 5?
Yep, Sundays 1 to 5 after Thanksgiving. And then typically by the 1st of November, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we've extended to 7 o'clock in the evening. So.
All right, and that square out there, folks, go shop at Hewlett & Dunn. There's lots to eat. You cannot find a better experience than Hewlett & Dunn, nor will you find better people. And they've even got the resident black lab named Bo, who's in there to greet you. You will absolutely love it. Charles, thank you so much. We're honored to have you on here and love having you as a sponsor.
Thanks, Rob. Y'all take care.
All right. See you, buddy.
You too.
Hey, Rob, man, we were talking about go ahead, Rob. I think you were talking about Hewlett & Dunn.
No, finish up. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, we got Hewlett Dunn on my screen. But the Saban, the long arm of the Saban coaching, long branches of the Saban coaching tree, we would be remiss if we didn't express shock and awe at the unbelievable play that Dan Lanning called, deliberately sending
brilliant
12th man on the field within the rules. You can debate whether that's good as far as the integrity of the game, but he didn't deny that was it. So you get an extra defender and you force them to, the worst that's going to happen to you if you get a stop, which is easier to do with 12 men, is a 5-yard penalty. And my God, that was genius.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Well, and Brendan, if you can, we can't see everybody, but we got the Hewlett & Dunn boots up here on the screen. But Ken, when you look at Texas, Quinn Ewers he's the quarterback, and everybody seems like they want to create a controversy there at Texas with Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers. You're there. I mean, you see it better than anybody. When you got two quarterbacks like that, that's scary. I've never seen anything like it. Now let's switch over, though, to the defense. Texas, #1 in the nation in scoring defense. With an offense like that, and to be #1 in the nation in scoring defense, that's almost impossible.
Well, you're right. And I mean, this is the best defense that Texas has had in years. And, last year, Texas could have won, even though they were behind. The absolutely vicious comeback in the Sugar Bowl against Washington and Michael Penix. But it was the secondary that got burned over and over and over. Now, and I completely think that the secondary has upgraded this year a lot. Now, of course, we haven't played a Carson Beck yet, so that's going to be a whole nother situation. But I do think that the secondary is playing a lot better. And even though Sweat and Murphy, are both playing in the NFL this year, the defensive line is also playing extremely well. And there's a kid who's a true freshman from right up here in the Metroplex, Colin Simmons, who is just tearing up on the offensive line. On the defensive line. And so, I mean, Texas has always liked to think it was a defensive school, but that went by the wayside for a very, very long time in the Big 12 when everything was switched to offense and, it's the spread and run and gun and the air raid and everything else. And but I really think that that the Texas defense it's going to be where it's going to be because if Beck gets on a roll, if Keene gets on a roll, they eat the clock. It can be all over for Texas.
Yeah, and again, Brendan, if you can take that picture off, we can't see everybody,
but I love those boots.
Yeah, they're great looking boots. But Doug, you look at this game. There's what do you think with Georgia not having those big, as many, certainly not as Texas, playmakers out on the edge? What do you see Georgia doing that we maybe hadn't seen out of them all year?
Well, and what do I know? But you got to have an opinion. It's Friday, right? But I think Kirby will want very early in the game, and certainly through the first half. I think he will challenge his team, like Frank calls a manhood game. And not that Texas, that's some manly damn football players Texas has in the trenches, and Kirby knows that. But I think Kirby's going to say, we are Georgia. We, if nothing else, we are physical. We're going to hit you hard. And on the offense, and so defensively, I think you're going to see him taking chances and attacking, see if he can rattle the quarterback. You let viewers stand back there, you're going to have a problem. And I think Georgia's going to offensively be very, even though Beck is good, he's going to be very run heavy with HEN and try to get some tempo going. I wouldn't try to throw on Texas a lot until about late second quarter, early third quarter. Why? See if you can get them a little bit tired. That takes a little of the edge off of most defensive fronts. So I think Kirby wants an old school, Vince Dooley type of game if he can keep the score close enough. And I think Sarkisian, surprisingly, we think all he does is throw. He's not Lane Kiffin. He loves to run the ball, but he will let you. You saw it in the big game earlier in the season at Michigan. He was willing to let Ewers throw those safe short passes off the edges, the slant passes, until it opened up, until they could pass protect and give him longer. So I think both teams want to mitigate risk early, not get their quarterback killed. And so you'll see a very run-heavy Georgia attack. But if Texas gets a double-digit lead in that environment, Kirby's going to have to do what he did in Tuscaloosa and put the game in Carson Beck's hands.
Yeah.
Well, let me give you guys a key injury that is still up in the air if he's going to play or not. Isaiah Bond, who is the playmaker, in my opinion, on the Texas offense, tweaked his ankle against Oklahoma, did not come back to the game. Of course, his backup is Ryan Wingo, who is going to definitely make the Football Writers Association of America all-freshman team, no doubt about it. The kid from St. Louis. And, of course, he had a big game against Oklahoma. But, if Isaiah Bond is not in that game, that's going to be a huge difference. Now, if Texas still has a lot of great receivers, don't get me wrong, but if you've seen what Isaiah Bond did for Alabama and what he's done for Texas so far this year, so I think that's going to be it's a game time decision from what I've heard down in Austin. So that's going to be a big one to watch for, guys.
Ken, I was just getting over my damn PTSD hearing the name Isaiah Bond.
I know.
And 4th and 31. Thanks
thing.
a lot, Ken.
Great
Thanks a lot.
Oh,
He's a hell of a player.
That kid is so cool.
Yeah, Ken.
He and his Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, look, let's do a little rapid fire here in the last few minutes before we go.
Don't forget my hot streak, Frank. It's on the line again.
I know.
And so let's look at some games. All right, Frank, real quick, we're gonna kind of do it in the next 5 minutes. Arkansas hosts LSU, man. Talked to Dudley Dawson a bunch this week on the show he's been on. It's a 1-point line. What's going to happen? Emotions are a big part of football.
Yeah, you know what? It's going to be hard to get back up after our 100th birthday party that we threw and gave Lane a present on his way back to Oxford. That was guys, I'm telling you, I couldn't go in because our dog is still rehabbing from surgery.
Yeah.
It killed me not going in. Every one of my friends said that's probably one of the top 3 nights they've ever spent in Tiger Stadium. It was off the freaking chain.
Unbelievable game.
Now you got to get back up to go play as tough as a $3 steak team in Arkansas.
Coming off an open date.
Absolutely. So we saw them laying in wait. So, it's going to be a pivotal game for LSU. Our defense started improving for the very first time really this year. We've seen a steady progression, but they wasn't great, but they were good enough last week. LSU's defense has to come to play, but our offense is really humming on all cylinders. I think the Tigers win it, but it is going to be a typical Arkansas LSU game. The last 4 have gone down to within 3 points. I think the Tigers pull it out.
Hi. Do you concur, Dr. Caps?
Yes, I do. I'm going with Frank on this one. I think the Tigers are definitely going to win up there. I know it's so tough to win in Arkansas, and of course Texas is going to Arkansas here in November. So after Georgia, there's no cakewalk till December. But I think LSU has the offense to do it. And I was really, really impressed with that game last week. My wife accuses me of having a man crush on Lane Kiffin, and I guess I do. Because he dresses so well, and he's just so cool. I guess I do. But to come back after, and let me tell you what, guys, I was so impressed with myself that after getting home from the Texas OU game, I was able to stay up and watch the end of the LSU Ole Miss game. I was so dang tired.
You got a good one. It's worth it.
I think LSU pulls it out. Pulls it off.
Yeah, and this one makes me nervous for y'all, Duffy.
Yeah, trap game. No doubt.
But I'm gonna trust, and I saw the same thing Brian Kelly did. I think that even though the completion percentage sucked for Nussmeier, who cares? In the second half, the guy made clutch throws on 3rd and 4th down. God Almighty! And so I think it was a growth game, like Kelly said on Nuss. And he carries that growth into what's going to be a lion's den or a hog's lair or whatever you call it in Fayetteville. And it helps Arkansas that they had an open date. I think the untold story this year is that Bobby Petrino is doing very good stuff, but he can't run his mouth about it because the head coach is Sam Pittman.
Y'all want to know? Hey, you want to know an interesting stat that will win you a beer at a bar? Nussmeier has more touchdown passes in his first 7 starts than Jaden Daniels and a kid named Joe Burrow combined.
I think Nuss is going to play on Sunday. So I think I would if you make me bet, I wouldn't touch this game. But if you make me bet, I want Arkansas plus the 2.5. But LSU is going to win the game with like a final second field goal.
It's going to be close.
Like that.
Well, and I tell you, looking around the conference, I'm going to do a really rapid fire. Alabama at Tennessee, we've covered it throughout the week. We've covered them. Arkansas, LSU, Auburn at Missouri, Florida, Kentucky.
It's a great slate.
I've got Florida winning that one 22-16. Georgia, Texas, and then you go down in here, Mississippi State host Texas A&M, Oklahoma. Wow, they've got South Carolina in Norman. That one.
Hey, there's only 3 undefeated teams in the SEC, and Texas A&M is one of them.
Yeah, in conference play. And then Vanderbilt's got Ball State. And, anybody want to throw a wild hair here? Is Diego Pavia, if Andy wins 8 games, he and the Army quarterback and that running back from Boise State, they're all going to be eating a steak dinner in New York.
Okay by me.
Yeah.
Can I go?
Yeah.
I think for Vandy, you got to adjust for the gauntlet of the SEC. If Vandy wins 8 games, that in my book translates to about 10 and a half wins.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And by the way, Dave Tompkins just texted us on our group text. Yeah. We missed Dave. He's just
he comes on Mondays now a lot, or Tuesdays, because his work schedule is crazy.
He's such an industrial baron. But let me tell you something. His Army team, I've been riding Army all year.
Yeah.
And love Army. Fantastic. And this is the year, if we're ever going to do a road trip to the Army-Navy game, this is the year we got to do it.
Let's do it.
Stadium. Yeah.
And Navy is also undefeated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, it's look, there's so many great stories. Let me say, guys, before we go, about our great sponsors like Tom Martin's Body Shop, G.E. Patterson, and BB King open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The best body work. They make the paperwork easy. Tom and that body shop's been there over 40 years. They are fantastic people to work with. And also, it is hunting season, guys. It's 45 degrees this morning. They're harvesting, the haze in the air. It's duck season coming up here in 29 days, if you're keeping track, and I am. We'll be working all weekend, pumping pits, the sexy part of duck hunting, brushing blinds, web-footed kennels. My man Chris Aiken in Jonesboro, Arkansas, the Burrow we call it. He's got about 115 dogs that he trains. He's got a staff of like 9 people. He's been doing it a long time. I've known him almost 30 years. Does great work, hunt test, field trials. He's at the Grand National Championship. This it takes a week and a half right now. But web-footed kennels, find them on Facebook in Jonesboro, Arkansas. I'll be getting my next dog there. I absolutely love them. All of our sponsors, we're redoing the website at sidelines.live. And thanks to everybody, executive producer Brendan Martin. Guys, he is outside.
Are we signing
holding
off?
a cable line in the air because he lost all the hurricane damage. He got the guys. Houdini looks tame compared to him. Go ahead, Doug.
I was just going to say, I mean, it's not that I want to, but this is the weekend. I can't defy gravity any longer, and I'll go down in flames. But by God, if you're going to break your streak of picking a single game against a number, I'm riding or dying with Hugh Freeze. I just don't believe that Auburn can stay snake bit a 5th game, even though I respect Missouri, but Missouri showed some vulnerability to a run game. And if Hugh Freeze does not give 22 carries to Jarquez Hunter, it's coaching malpractice, at least for this one game. I really like Auburn to win straight up at Columbia, 11 a.m. kickoff.
If it had done it against OU,
Hey, Rob, can I throw in one thing before we leave?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say one thing before we close the books on Texas OU, and after my fine applause there, Frank Duffy. I want to give a huge shout out to the PR folks at the State Fair of Texas, Gigi, Graham, and Katie, for helping me last week do the sidelines live shot from in front of the Cotton Bowl. They helped me so much. You know what? I mean, I'm 64 years old. You know what they helped me the most with? Finding a place to park and where to park. So I could, parking places become really very, very special to you when you're old like me. So I just wanted to give a shout out to those folks. They did a great job, and they are young folks. They were busting their butts all weekend. So thank you for just letting me give a shout out to them because they did first-class work.
I thought you were going to thank them for that fried cheese on a stick that they got.
In fact,
the bacon fried cotton candy.
Yes.
I saw Jimmy
Cardiologist
McDavid.
dream.
I saw Jimmy McDavid, my friend I graduated high school with, that knows you. It's what a small world we live in. He's like, Brown, come on out to Texas. I got tickets, and he does. He's got a lot of things in Texas.
Lots of tickets.
Awesome show. Boomer Sooner people. We got to get Chris Plank show back on with us. Olin Buchanan is going to be on with us Monday or Tuesday, texags.com. There's so many stories. It's like taking a drink of water from Niagara Falls in the SEC. But thanks, everybody, for watching the show. Most often, we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We are the most blessed people in the greatest country in the history of the world. Find ways to help people. Close us out, Doug.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it because I'll catch heck if I don't. Rightly so. But I was on the fence, really liking Auburn, and my really brilliant high football IQ son-in-law Kyle informed me getting off the fence on that. It's going to be a fun Saturday of college football for everyone.
Amen.
And outside the league, Indiana, Nebraska, who would have ever paid attention to that, guys? Not even the adults, as Tony Barnhart said, can screw this game up. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you Monday. Thanks for watching.
DKR is going to show up.
That's right. Everywhere you look.
You watch.
All right. Thank y'all so much. We'll be back Monday morning. with Coach Ellis Johnson to wrap up all the games and stuff like that. So appreciate it. Brendan, unbelievable job outside holding the internet line so we can have a show. I have the greatest producer in the world, people.
That's
Brendan
right.
Martin. I'm blessed beyond belief. Thank y'all.
See you guys.
Thank you.
In a perfect world, you'd set a health goal and results would happen overnight. In this world, the real world, it takes time, dedication, and the right support to achieve your best self. The Vitamin Shop's health enthusiasts are here to make sure you're not wasting a single moment on the wrong supplements. From the highest quality sports nutrition and superfoods to the most sought after trends, you'll find a huge variety of science-backed solutions for every goal and the people to help guide you along the path to greatness.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.